I created an army list that is so terrible it caused a 40k coach to react like this. But before we get to that, I have to admit something. This might shock you to hear, but I'm actually not very good at 40k. In fact, I've absolutely no idea what the hell I'm doing. So rather than continue to spin my wheels with 18 centurions for the rest of eternity, illustrating the definition of insanity, I think it's about time that I try to actually get better at the game, especially as we move towards 11th edition and the possibility that my beloved centurions get sent to the Legends farm up north. I want to end 10th edition with my head held high, and to do that, I'm going to need some help. So let me introduce you to Toby Bennett, 40k coach, super nice guy, and lover of DILFs.
The line is a DILF.
Toby has agreed to help me become the best player I possibly can be, although my best may end up being still pretty shit. But hey, at the very least, he's going to give it a go. This is an unenviable task, trying to coach me from sub 30% moronic meme lord to a top table tyrant. And we only have about 6 weeks to get any sort of results, so let's see if Toby's up for the challenge. To start our journey, we need to start from the very beginning with list building. I love making lists. Theory crafting is a hell of a lot of fun, but it turns out I'm not very good at making the kind of lists that you would call functional or good. Hell, to be honest, I'm not even very good at making meme lists. Did you know that Eurogaunt's at 90 points for 22 models? News to me! For our first session, Toby asked me to bring along some lists for us to evaluate and discuss how to approach list building. He requested I prepare a number of lists for us to look at and to make some of them as crazy as possible.
Challenge accepted.
However, before poisoning Toby's mind with my abject horror, I did actually want to learn something that I, and potentially you, would find useful. So I wanted to start off with some real lists that I'd come up with, so that I could get some solid advice that I can use in the future and understand the fundamentals of list building, and also see how someone should approach building a list to get the most out of their collection. Not everyone is going to have 3 Defilers or like 12 Victrix Honor Guard on the hand, and honestly, we don't want to have that. That's boring bullshit. And yes, this is going to be a poorly balanced video that might contain something useful and won't just be a complete shitpost. Fear not though, because once we've extracted all that delicious knowledge and information from Toby's brain like some sort of twisted mind flare, we'll make sure to absolutely break this man's mind with my regular list building prowess.
Awesome. So going over list construction and trying to work out what the logic is behind each decision when you make it, because not all data sheets are created equally when looking at you, Victrix Honor Guard. This is really going to focus on those fundamentals of what good looks like and why it would look good in a certain role, because if you can nail what the unit is doing, you can then analyze how it's doing that job and if it's doing that job better than another unit. I think we're going to be going over some core concepts of your list and what you're particularly looking to build, and we're going to try and make them super spicy, because you've promised me spice, and I'm very excited to see what we can do.
We started off by going through one of my relatively standard Shadowmark Talon lists. This is a list that I actually took to the Battle Barn recently for a live streamed game.
They're only damage 1.
So he does live on the wound.
I've still got a carrot today.
Fuck. It didn't go well. This list is my first attempt at something resembling a working army, but still keeping a bit of the Screaming Raven's charm due to me appearing on stream, and also not having any time for new models, so I had to use whatever I had to hand. But I do genuinely think that 12 Centurions is a very good idea.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, so Shrike going with the 10 Vanguard vets,
yep.
Shan running around being completely awesome. I love Shan. Shan's such a cool model. And then just lots of scoring pieces would be my first instance. The core of it, we can both kind of tell is the Centurions, right? But talk me through what the logic is behind trying to kind of min-max those Centurions and what they're going to do to win you the game.
So Devastated Centurions are, for me, the thing that if I point them at anything, it usually dies, unless my dice are deciding that they hate me. If I can get them down, take out a couple of things without much recourse, pick them up, drop them down again, do the same thing, that really snowballs the game. That's why I kind of always went with 12 of those previously. The Assault Centurions are slightly different in that in this list, in my 80 Centurions list, they're not that great, but I just kind of like them. They are good at holding a point. Like, I think I've won a game because they stood there menacingly. I don't want to move my tank out because you'll charge it. I'm like, okay, well, they're going to stand here for the rest of the game, and that's a lot to stand on that, right?
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense, and I think we've immediately identified a couple of really good points. First of all, the kind of the Centurion Assault Squad, because you like them. That is something that we see really commonly. It's something that I did quite a lot when I was starting out as well. I have an absolute obsession with the Land Raider Redeemer because it was a Salamanders player, and I love just going. Unfortunately, the point of that is the murdering your darlings. It's what we call a vanity pick, and it's the idea of, I love this model therefore I want to have it in my army, which is perfectly legitimate. There is nothing wrong with taking those kinds of picks unless your sole aim is to go and win a GT or win a super major. And it's all about the intent when it comes to this list building, because there's nothing wrong. I think one of the reasons that I think a load of people love your content is because it's like, how can we make this absolutely bonkers and awesome and fun? Not let's make it the best. Suboptimal units have their place in competitive lists, but it's about them trying to maximize that usage. So we now know that their role is going to be to hold an objective, and that kind of just shove them in the middle and tell your opponent, come on, come out and get me. And I think that kind of leads nicely into the devastated centurions, because there's clearly value in them. We know that whatever they touch, they tend to nuke. So that snowball effect is what we want to try and recreate every single game. And I remember from watching your content and conversations we've had previously, that comes when your opponent isn't aggressive into you. So we need to work out how to either stop their aggression or to scare them so much that they do hang back. So we've got our key damage dealer brick. That problem is solved. We can kind of put a big tick next to that. Now we need to think about what are the units that can delay our opponent and kind of caution them off from being aggressive. Now, obviously, when Raven Guard were the tippy top of Space Marines, that was the rapid ingressing 10 brick of Vanguard vets, because they'd go in, they'd kill something, they'd probably shoot something to death, they'd stab something to death, and then they'd die. And that was fine because they got in the way for a turn. So that's what we need to identify. At the moment, that looks to be the Judy with the 6 Blade Guard.
Yeah.
Thoughts around that?
Yeah, so with them, I've always liked that unit, but again, whenever I've played them, I've always played them as a by the way, if you haven't noticed, whenever Toby asks for my thoughts, I haven't got a fucking clue, so I should start rambling some nonsense. The only thing I really know much about is the Mad Case 2.0 from table.stronghold.com. That's right, even during class, there is no escape from the sponsor time. Holy f***ing shit, this carry case from table.stronghold.com is so good. It can fit so many models of any size thanks to the adjustable trays and the mother power of magnets. You'd be a stupid not to get one, especially when it's 25% off with my Paul 25, and you can get to the USA, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand, and most of the EU. I love this Mad Case so man. I just want to my with just so many. So what are you waiting for? Get yourself to table.stronghold.com right now using the links in the description below. Thanks again, Table.Stronghold, for sponsoring you beautiful. I just want to kind of a standoff unit of refight first, so don't come at me. But then kind of during games I've been like, well, if I just had been moving them, closing the door with them more aggressively, I could have actually made more value out of them.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a discussion point of like, what is value for them? And we've already identified what our unit holding objectives is, right? And we don't need another unit that's doing that. This unit is a pusher unit that gets into our opponent's faces and forces them to make, hopefully, the wrong decision by being either a tough dude or a fights first dude, something that is problematic for them to solve. And I think it's well worth, when you try this list, fling that unit in their face. Actually just go, right, what happens if I infiltrate 9 from your deployment zone and I go for turn 1 charges? What I like to suggest to people is, if something's going to work, do it to the absolute maximum and then rein it back, because it's easier to rein it back than to start making the kind of batshit crazy decisions later on when you've already started getting that conservative mindset. Let's see what happens if I do this. Does this stand up to the stat check? What happens if these guys just stand directly in front of whatever my opponent's combat army is? Like the World Eaters, for example. Infiltrate them in front of the World Eaters and go, cool, come over, go if you think you're hard enough. Now we're starting to reassess what is each unit's role. Are there any other units that you're looking at now that you're going, okay, this is a delaying unit. This is gonna hold my opponent back while my dev cents get multiple activations?
That's what I've been using the APIs for as well. Just kind of throwing them out there because they're fast. Mostly they've been for denying primary, because they're 10 OC in with Shrike. They get 2 OC each, so being able to just chuck them really quickly onto an objective and go, here's 10 OC. That's been really good. And the Vanguard vets, like, they do a lot, but I've always kind of, again, misplayed them a little bit. Always held them back too much and then sent them at the wrong thing, and they've not been able to really get their worth back. When in some games I'm able to go like, okay, they can drop in the back line, rip you apart.
Yeah, and what do you see that role of Shrike and the Vanguard vets then? Because you're identifying you're not getting enough out of him. but what actually are you planning to do with him every single game?
My plan usually is to try and get a rapid ingress with them, take something out. The fact that obviously he can pick himself up and be able to rapid ingress, 12-foot-1 away and be unkillable because of his lone op for the squad. I sometimes get it right, but a lot of the time, alarm bells going on the battlefield, I usually just kind of throw him at something to just try and gum up the works. And I've always kind of been a bit let down by their melee. Shrike on his own's not too bad, but the Vanguard vets kind of don't do that much compared to what I'd like them to do.
No, I mean, I think assessing Vanguard vets and what they can actually, because they're only AP1, they're always going to be a little bit let down by that. Because they've got the aspects of being picked up and the lone opping kind of thing, for me, they feel more like a harassment piece because they're quick, so you don't actually need the strat to pick them back up if you don't fancy it. But they can go out there, eliminate an isolated unit, or threaten a flank with a big push, where if your opponent wants to start chucking stuff out, well, sure, you just throw 5 assault intercessors in there, but when they commit something meaningful, excellent, that's when you shove out with Shrike and kind of really punish them for that, and then go, okay, now there is a meaningful thing that you have to deal with while being within 12 inches of this if you want to shoot it or charge it. So I think that's, to me, this feels like a opponent's expansion piece, where you want to use that to kind of frustrate your opponent, and I wouldn't be afraid of starting it on the board if you can pick it up.
Yeah, I usually start them on the board because I can pick them up. If it's my turn, they can go do an action, and then I pick it up at the end of my opponent's turn. If I go second, I just pick it up turn 1. I can put them down turn 1 if I need to, or just rapid ingress them turn 2.
Or using them like warp talons, right? Like throw them out, kill the screening unit. Suddenly, that's a resource dealt with. If your opponent can't easily respond to you, suddenly they're going to have to start being a lot more cagey around where they can put their screens. And suddenly, if they're having to be more cagey about where they're putting their screens, they're not screening your dev sense out. It's not that they're going to have that moment where they go, cool, I'm going to get the, 300 on the nose.
The numbers don't lie!
Back from hunting down a 300-point unit. They're going to just get incremental kind of gas out the tank by hunting down unit once a turn, maybe once every 2 turns, and buying that space for the dev sense, because that's critically where we need it. It's for me, if we are going, okay, Centurion Devastators are the ones that are going to ruin my opponent's day. This is going to be what wins me the game, because that's going to buy me the space to put these 6 Assault Centurions on the objective and then nuke anything else that walks out an objective. Perfect. I think that's a perfectly legitimate strategy. It's about buying you that time now. And that's where I think we start assessing each unit. How does each of these units either buy you time or score you points? So I think I'd almost do it like a literal table, the line down the middle of point scorer, time buyer. I mean, like, we know that Shan, he's more like, I mean, he kind of falls weirdly in the middle because he's a point scorer because he's a cool, fast lone op, and he does other stuff for the army. But my God, he's a tempting little target. Now, one that I definitely want to talk about is the Ballistus.
Yeah.
What's the Ballistus role within this list?
The Ballistus role is I have 150 points, so I couldn't think of anything else to put in there at the time. Yeah, that is kind of the logic there. But I guess what it would really be, it would be a time saver. Would it be something that has to kind of be focused down, that takes threat away from some of my other units? Like, you can't fire the big stuff at the Centurions if you're firing at the Ballistus.
I think I get what you're saying. That kind of distracts. It's a distraction card effects, and then it can go and sit on your expansion. The only thing I would say in terms of it's looking to also buy time from things coming out that's going to block where you're going to deep strike. What are those units typically going to be that people are going to bring out to stop you?
Going to be probably infantry stuff. Small 5-man units that can spread out, which Ballistus can't deal with.
And more commonly at the moment, the Pathfinders.
I've never played against Tau.
You lucky! I played 4 games against 4 games at home nations against it. But what I'm wondering with the Ballistus and what people are kind of like bringing out to stop those dev sense, I'm only seeing 1 high value infiltrate unit, which is not the kind of thing that you're going to be putting out. Like, again, let's say you're against a World Eaters, or, well, maybe World Eaters is not as good an example, but again, let's go back to the Tau example, or anything sort of similar out of Marines or Guard. In fact, a lot of them Scout. You can't really put those 7 high value models directly in front of a gun line and go, I'm just blocking you. And you can probably almost certainly guess where I'm going with just under half of these lovely 150 points.
Yes.
Scouts are so useful at just going, cool, I'm just going to screen out this part of the board. That's where suddenly you're getting both a time delay and a point scorer potential. And I think that's something else that's really critical, because suddenly if you're against an army where you identify that actually if you just go first and chuck a Judy into your opponent's face, they're going to panic and probably start crumbling, which is going to buy you all the time in the world to then start dropping in and start blasting. Scouts are going to kind of lubricate that for you, because that's the most obvious thing in the world. If you just go, cool, I'm going to put the Judy right here directly in front of you and I'm going to throw it, cool, I'm going to infiltrate away. Instead, let's buy that space with a crappy little 70-point unit that we don't really care about if it dies, but we can also run away with their scout. That suddenly starts buying you a bit of extra time, but also gives you flexibility in that decision making. And with something like a Tau, if you can suddenly just get into their faces and disrupt them, that could be a way that could upset them a little bit. I mean, they're stupid cows. It's hard to upset them. I really hate cows. And also it buys you another squad of incursors. And melter mines are really quite good as long as you don't roll ones. That's probably the last kind of piece of the puzzle, because I really like the other bits that you've already kind of gone over. Like the assault system jump back, phenomenal at just denying your opponent's expansion objective and just skirmishing, being a pain in the ass. I think I would play quite conservatively with them. They would go out after my opponents put something on their objective. I think the sort of the real key will be working out who sits on your expansion first. Is it the Assault Centurions, or is it going to be that Lone Op?
It's probably going to have to be the Lone Op first, just because the Assault Centurion is going to take time to get there. Main thing.
Yeah, I think this is where it comes down to that kind of pre-planning of like, we know their role now, so we know that the deployment area that we need to identify for them is shortest possible routes to expansion objectives. And I think most of those are around 8 or 9 inches away from where you want to be. It's why a lot of people were so excited about playing Primarchs, because they've got 8-inch movement and you can low knock them. So they'd start on the line and not be able to be shot, and then move their 8, be on the expansion, and suddenly you've got Rebute or the Lion sitting on the expansion going, hey, come and have a go, chucklefuck. To be honest, I think that's partly why, I mean, raw power as well, but it's partly why Tau is so good right now, because they ask so many questions and they force so many decisions out of your opponent. And if you make the wrong one, it can just be suddenly game over there. And then, I mean, I had a game recently where I made 2 mistakes in deployment. And it literally, we started the first turn, I looked at the board and just went, oh, I've lost this game. It was literally that simple in terms of there is problem to solve. If your opponent makes one wrong decision, done. And that's where I feel like this list really thrives. Finding that I'm going to ask loads of questions to you, and eventually you're going to get one wrong. And like, sure, someone might not get them all wrong, but then you just roll 6s and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Easy. Well, how is it easier?
My issue is I probably will ask the wrong questions.
Okay,
but that's obviously later on, like, beyond the list building, how to actually utilize them.
It is, but it's also, it starts with list building, right? Because like, we know we want to build those questions into a list building. Like, we know that the Judicia is there to go, how can you deal with this big nasty fights first unit with a 4-up pinball? Yeah, it's not an overly complex question, like, okay, I'm going to put 3 damage into it, done. But it's one of those questions where if your opponent can't solve it, that's where it starts being problematic. But those are the kind of, like, we want to be building in those and layering those questions as we build our list. Because we know the core thing that's going to make you win this game is your lone ops standing on objectives and your dev sense activating multiple times. That wins game. Done. How does the rest of those points, because that's what, 350 for the dev sense, 70 for the lieutenant, 115 for the other lieutenant, and then maybe 110 for Sean. You still have a heck of a lot of points to kind of work out where else you want to be doing this stuff, right?
This conversation probably led to one of the most important lessons, and one that completely recontextualizes the list building process for me. So for once, I'm actually going to try and speak slower than my usual pace of maddened word vomit to explain this concept properly. I spent far too long trying to write something that isn't a complete joke, and now I have to speak eloquently, so you better fucking pay attention, alright? To put this simply, I've been focusing too much on who is your daddy and less on what does he do. Let's take 2 units to use as an example of what I mean. Devastator Centurions and Shrike with the 10 Inferno Pistol Vanguard Veterans, which I like to call the Shrike Bomb. It's also going to be way easier to say Shrike Bomb over and over instead of Shrike with 10 Vanguard Veterans with Inferno Pistols. These units are 2 major staples of basically all of the lists I make. They could not be more different, right? I mean, look at their data sheets. They are absolutely not alike in any way. Devastator Centurions are these awesome, heavy-hitting walking tanks with massive long-range guns that deal a ton of damage, and the Shrike Bomb is made up of fast, nimble, close-quarters skirmishers who can hide in plain sight before diving onto unsuspecting foes. So, in my mind, they're different units, so they do different things in game. But what do they actually do? And more importantly, what are they doing that's helping me win a game? What is their role in my game plan? assuming I have a game plan, which normally I don't. For Devastator Centurions, I want them to drop down onto the battlefield in a sneaky spot to annihilate something with a huge damage potential. For the Strike Bomb, I want them to drop down onto the battlefield in a sneaky spot to annihilate something with a huge damage potential. That's the same job. Yes, they do it in slightly different ways. Devastating Centurions have the range advantage, so it can find angles across the board. And the Strike Bomb has low knock for the unit, so it can get close and then fly into something without being stopped. But they're both units that I'm trying to use to deal damage to a particular enemy from an interesting place on the battlefield. Them being either slow-walking tanks or fast skirmishers doesn't matter here. For the purposes of building my list and my game plan, they're the same unit. And once you think about a unit from the perspective of what job do they perform to help you win the game, suddenly you start to realize the problems you might have in your list. Devastator Centurions and the Strike Bomb in a vacuum are both great. But having a ton of units that are great in a vacuum can only get you so far. How they piece together is the key. Alternatively, just take Defilers because they're bloody busted.
I think this is the hot take. GW gives people crabs.
What?
That's the only clip I'm going to use in the video. This is the video's like, I spoke to this guy about list building. He didn't say much useful stuff. He gives people crabs.
Also, fucking lovely bloke. Genuinely, like, sort of the angelic human being that will explain anything to anyone. Great guy.
You could try and dig yourself out the hole, but I have the editing power.
I have drunkenly promised to suck your dick, dressed up as a crow, and the lion is a dill. I love fucking the lion. My god, he's a tempting little target. Let me just sneak this little guy. GW said, everyone must have crabs. Those little scam artists, they have very wrathful thoughts. God, I have no idea how to deal with that. One of my favourite questions to ask for something like this, and particularly because it does just have the Phobos keyword, is the Invicta Tactical Warsuit.
I have two of them that I've almost finished building. I need to paint up. I do really want to use them because they're very cool. I always feel like if I put them anywhere, they're just going to die.
They are, but that's their job. Scouts are going to go in first. They're going to buy me my scouting expense, and then I'm going to yeet these two mechs at you. And I'm not really bothered because it's, what, 240 points total? You've killed 240 points. Well, I have 1760 left, and that involves multiple Daemons. And I'm not saying that Invicta Tactical Warsuits are going to solve all your problems. I do think they're hilarious, and I do think they're wonderful. And also, why are they strength 14?
Also, you can pick them both up with the strap. It says Phobos or other infantry, but then they're Phobos, so you can just go, hey, I'm going to pick both of them up and put them somewhere else.
Exactly. Like that's the kind of, and those are the kind of questions that you want to be asking. It's out of the box. It's a little bit mad, but it's the kind of thing in testing that you go, actually, this seems batshit crazy. Let's see if it is. I think this is the perfect opportunity for you to have those kind of moments where you do mad inventor moments and go, actually, what happens if I do throw this at my opponent? Are these actually just super easy to kill? Is their damage output good enough that they're able to kill? Because if they kill 2 skirmish units, they have 100% brought their points back. If they survive more than turn 1, so there's a lot of potential where they could be really good, but also it makes your opponent deploy in a more conservative fashion. If they go, okay, cool, I'm just going to deploy on the line, you go, cool, I'm just going to charge you with these damage 3 dudes and the incursors and the scouts, and I'm going to just completely jail you turn 1. They're in trouble. So they're going to have to start deploying more conservatively, which again buys that time for the dev sense to get into position, activate multiple times, etc., etc. It all leads back to, it's kind of like a all roads lead to Rome situation. We are just doing the thing because we know this wins you the game.
Next, we moved on to the second list that I wanted some opinions on. Unfortunately, this list was a Stormraven gunship-based Armoured Speartip list, and since we recorded this session, Armoured Speartip was changed so that Stormravens no longer benefit from the detachment. So basically, all of this section can be thrown directly. So I now have some homework to do to think about a new and improved Screaming Ravens list that I want to be able to take to the UK Game Expo event in Birmingham at the end of the month. This is the list that I came up with, and alongside the lessons that I learned from more of Toby's coaching, I took this to the Winchester GT recently. But now that's all out of the way, let's absolutely destroy this poor lad's soul.
Right, shall we see what the next filth you've got for me is?
I'm just going to send you the list without any explanation. I'm going to let you read it, and then I want to see your reaction.
Okay.
It's a, to let you know, it's a Death Guard list.
Okay. Is that the building?
That is the fortification.
Okay, so now I'm going to have to go and read what are...
So the main thing you need to know about them is they're 2 models that have to be an inch apart. They give you a 12-inch no deep strike aura.
Okay.
They're anti-infiltrate. So the plan for this list is to just have the entire backfield unable to be infiltrated in while you just walk Poxwalkers full. Because Poxwalkers also infiltrate, which I found out when I was making the video. So I was like, okay, just literally spam the mid board with Poxwalkers, run them forward, and have 2 defilers at the back going like pew pew, and then you have your spawn go around, do action. That's the list. It's 120 Poxwalkers, and then you just go, oh, you want to try and sneak up behind me? Well, you can't. Here's 3 Malignifiers saying no, and then 2 defilers.
Right. To be honest, yeah, I think there's something there. I'm going to be very cautious in my phrasing with that, but I do. So this is a very different kind of stat check. This would be the kind of list that I would maybe have in a spicy flex slot for teams, because it needs to get the right matchup. If you walk into a World Eater, they are going to wreck your space in about 30 seconds. But if you go up against something like a Knights that maybe they don't really have like the sweep attacks, or they don't have the triple despoiler to be spitting out all of those 2 damage shots that they do in CK, like, yeah, there's an argument for it. We know that the way this wins is by putting an immeasurably stupid number of Poxwalkers in front of your opponent and then killing problematic units with defilers.
Technically it's 150, because with Shamble Rectorum you get to add 3 extra units of 10.
Yes, that's not the part that I'm questioning.
Are you sure? Because I feel like, you know...
Maybe I'm just not quite getting this 150 Poxwalkers. Do you know, I've got a clock over there. That'd be the first thing that I get out.
I fully admit that this list loses to the clock.
I think we're immediately going, because we know we need to deal with problems with defilers, which is a very good unit to deal with those problems with. I think you need a third, because crabs are quite good. I think you want that third defiler in there, because that's your problem solver. I'm not convinced of the fortification.
I just like the idea that it's funny that I think I worked out that you can literally make your entire deployment zone uninteractable.
Yes, I think triple crab, and then we want to make our crabs more efficient, right? So we want the guy that rerolls, the Lord of Virulence, because suddenly then all those crabs are rerolling, and that's real damn tasty. I think the Malignifier, although hilarious, is probably not quite the secret sauce.
I didn't think it was, because I figured if it was the secret sauce, I would figure I would not be the one to work out that it was. Speaking of loving a little bit of chaos, how about this horrific list? So the concept for this list is this is Daemons, and it's every single character under 100 points with Bellicor.
In demonic concussion. Okay. Yes.
I think the funniest thing I saw in here is, on top of the fact that you have to remember every single, like, you have to know what all of these datasheets do, one of them also makes it so you have to be keeping track of any time a Nurgle unit kills a model. So you have to keep track of that. There's several auras. There's several things that make battle shocks different. This list is horrifically bad, but it's also very fun.
Yes. I think this is the kind of thing where it is, if we can do it, we can do it. Does it go anywhere? No. It's there for the journey.
This is the 36 Centurion of, like, it was funny, but with 36 Centurions, like, you can go, oh yeah, change a couple of things, take a couple of Centurions out, but then it's not 36 Centurions, right? That's kind of similar with this one, where to play this list or make this list work requires you changing the way that the list is made up, right?
Yeah, I mean, to make Demonic Incursion Bellicor work, unfortunately, it's a very simple cookie cutter approach where you put 4 other large greater demons in there. So it's still great. It's still like epic hero spam, because you'll get Scarbrand in there, you'll get Rotigus, possibly Kairos, definitely the Endless Gift. Like, there's definitely stuff that you do that. But to be honest, Paul, you mentioned Battle Shocks. May I introduce you to our Lord and Saviour, Pooh Legion? Are you familiar with Pooh Legion?
I'm not familiar with Pooh Legion.
You don't know Pooh Legion? Okay, Pooh Legion is Nurgle Demons. It just plays several great unclean ones with their slightly cracked enhancements.
Oh, I have seen someone play that. It was like, 3 great unclean ones and Rotigus.
Yeah, that kind of list, it kind of fits this. Here is a bunch of really funny, stupid little characters. Loads of, like, Sloppy Bilepiper, all that kind of stuff. Because, I mean, also, Sloppy Bilepiper is the most phenomenal name ever.
It is the best named character in the game.
Honestly, like, I mean, I cannot think of one that brings me more joy than saying the phrase Sloppy Bilepiper.
The only one that gets close for me is Boomdakis Naswagon.
Oh, yeah. Oh, do you know, a friend of mine managed to get that name into corporate speak in one of his meetings. He works for a big bank, and he was like, guys, we just need to boondacker on these snaz wagons more. And genuinely has now got it into their vernacular.
Nice.
Where they start boondackering on snaz wagons. I think this list is impossible to make work, short of just having loads of units that just go and do actions. Like if you take behind enemy lines and engage, I think you could maybe get away with this because you can pick them up in demonic incursion, so you could probably get max secondaries. I think you then need to look at how can you score a bit more on primary. Like you're not killing anything in this list, and that's fine. Because like you've got Belly can go kill things, and is also a massive distraction card effect. So for this, I think you're taking fix so that you can just sort of uppy downy stuff, and then I think you're taking more pink horrors and just kind of blobbing them up on objectives and going, well, I'm going to split them all, and you're going to be sad about it. I think that's the only way I can make that not garbage.
I have one more challenge one for you. This one doesn't really work either, but I think this one's a good question of like how far is too far? The answer for this one is it's too far, but how much do you have to wind it back until you can get to that point where it's actually going to be okay? This one is no melee world eaters. Angron and nothing but tanks. Because the problem with world eaters is every character hits stuff. So to fill 2,000 points, you have to take Angron to do some sort of punching, but then nothing else doesn't punch. How far back do you have to wind this until you get to a reasonable list? Probably all the way to like 2 fortunes.
It's actually not too difficult to wind this back a bit. So you actually have the basis of a decent gore track list here, which would play some number of fortunes, probably 2. I think it's basically the 5 data sheets that are kind of irrelevant. Well, the 5 units that are kind of irrelevant. They go. Instead, you introduce defiance. Suddenly, this list has got some real punch and real bite to it. Obviously, if you're playing gore track, you want to have the Slaughterbound with the Exalted 8-bound to sit in that Land Raider and have fights first. You know, that's probably then where you're losing Angron and taking that instead. Like, yes, we're very quickly getting away from shooting, but there's still a big chunk of shooting in there because we've still got 2 Forge Fiends, 2 Defilers, and at least 1 Land Raider. That's a lot of shooting, like hitting someone in the face. That would scare me a little bit. The really nice thing with this, and a great thing that I always find with Chaos, is that if you just change 2 things about this, you have a really good army, and that is that you remove Angron, and you make it 1,000 suns. Suddenly, with the addition of some crabs, because once again, we are in a crabs epidemic. So if you enjoyed it, like if you're like, sod it, yeah, I've got this World Eaters armor, which is no melee, here's a meme. If you then went, actually, I want to go win this tournament next week, you literally just change it to 1,000 suns, change a couple of units, and you have a reasonably strong. Like you take out the Land Raiders and maybe 1 Destructor and add in the triple crabs, and then you put in some you put in the triple Demon Prince with wings. You have a list done, ready to go. It's genuinely as simple as that. So like you have that kind of beauty of switching between those 2. You can just jump between these factions, which I think is nice because you're probably playing this because you're bored of playing World Eaters, not because you want to play full shooting World Eaters. If you own these models, jumping across and playing 1,000 suns, not a bad bet.
Clearly Toby's not going down without a fight. Yes, these are joke lists, but even from this memery, there are some things that you can take and form into something coherent. And from that coherent idea, you can form a list around it that might actually work. In my No Many World Eaters list, the thing I thought would really stump him was easily defeated by either just using Gore Track, because actually Gore Track's quite good, or changing over to 1,000 suns. And adding more crap. Shout out to Tactical Sugar on YouTube for actually running the No Melee World Eaters, and I mean the one I made. These are never going to be lists that you take if you wanted to win a tournament. Or realistically, even a single game. But you can see Toby's thought process with these lists and how you can form an actual tangible strategy from them by taking what they do and forming an idea around that. However, all of these lists were in my previous video, and it was kind of good timing that Toby asked me to make silly lists when I was making a video about silly lists. But that wasn't all of my ideas. I still have one more list for Toby, and this one will not be defeated. I'm just going to let you read the title of this list, and then you'll probably work out why you simply cannot fix this list.
Okay.
This list is literally just conceding with extra steps. It is a tech marine with nothing but transports with nothing to go in the transport. Those transports will instantly die as soon as you start the game, leaving you with just a tech marine.
Yep.
You said come up with the stupidest thing I possibly could. This is it. This list simply does not function.
No, you're absolutely right. It is in fact just shite. I'm doing this.
But it is 2,000 points. It is because obviously a list that wouldn't function, I could just be like, here's one character. I could just make a list with a tech marine in it. You go, well, that's rubbish. This one is, I can tell you exactly how many points it is. It's 1,985 points.
I love that you're like, this is the qualifier. Of like one character, Toby, that's rubbish. No, let's bring 6, 12, 18, 24 transports without anything to go in.
Yeah, because you got to, if you're making a 2,000 point list, if you're only going to put 65 points in there, then you're giving up. You've got to style on it. You got to fill the list up and then have the list kill itself so that you're left with what you had originally. I calculated this is 97% of your list dies before you start the game.
Right. Okay. Doing a good job for your opponent.
Technically, you could put the tech marine in one of those transports, and you would get an extra few points to keep around.
Exactly. I mean, I think we're definitely taking out some drop pods and putting some ancients in, just so that we.
I think you'd probably take out all of this list and put a real list in it.
So what you do is you put in Marnius Calgar with 6 Victrix.
Yeah.
And Uriel Vectress with 6 Victrix. And 2 Repulsor Executioners.
Yes. You make a different list. This one I think doesn't work because you literally just go, you win, and then you'd leave.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can take stuff which doesn't shoot, stuff that just sits there, like give your opponent something to shoot. This doesn't even make the board.
No, like 36 Centurions was one of those ones which everyone found it was funny. And obviously, for me, the joke finished after the game 5. It's like, okay, that was funny once. Doing this again is like, doing the joke again isn't as funny. And coming from me, who loves to reuse jokes over and over again, that's saying a lot. This one, the joke is the list. You don't even have to play. Bringing this to a table and going, here's the joke, makes your opponent go, okay, I guess we're not playing a game then.
Yeah, I think I'd be kind of miffed.
Exactly. This list is so bad that it's like it's legitimately insulting to bring to a table because it just wastes people's time.
Yeah. Like, I might as well have just had a buy.
Literally, yes. The best part is you don't even have to bring any of the models. So you don't even have to, like, you literally could just go, this is my list, but because they literally don't do anything, I need a drop pod and a tech marine.
Do you know, I wonder how a TO would react. I think if you turn up, I think they don't know you have to have the models.
I reckon this doesn't get past list checking. I think someone looks at this and goes, and that TO, before you even get there, goes, you need a list that's real.
Yeah, I genuinely, I would be really curious to see UKTC's response to this, because also they do peer by peer list check. So if someone doesn't check it, you're going to make it to the table.
Yeah. But yeah, legitimately, this is, I think, and it only works because Space Marines have so many options. Because they have 4 dedicated transport options, they can do this. This is...
But should they?
No. But you know, this is a fundamentals to list building. Obviously, the fundamental here is don't do this. But also, you wanted a challenge. And the challenge here is make a list where your entire army dies instantly work. And the answer is, I have won. This was a competition the whole time. I have beaten you. My list building prowess knows no bounds.
You can't kill me if I've already learned
You
myself.
can't fire me. I quit.
Checkmate, Mr. Bond. Checkmate.
You thought you had me defeated. I defeated myself long before.
I've already accepted my doom and stepped into this trash compactor, sir. Which also is where I'll put all these drop pods.
All these drop pods I didn't buy because I didn't put them on the table.
No, you've got to turn up with all the models. I think that's the bit that hurts me the most, the idea that you wouldn't turn up with the model.
But it would, I feel, to be fair, I think it would be funnier to turn up with the models and go, here's my army. I can't deploy any of this. I instantly...
I genuinely think just like see how long it takes the penny to drop and like properly like go through, like explain all your data sheets, explain exactly what it does, like everything like that, and just see how long it takes for your opponent to go, don't you just all die?
Go, yep, and then you leave. Because I looked this up as well, because I thought it was a case of like, if they have nothing in them, they count as being destroyed, but you can't deploy them at all. Every dedicated transport unit from your army must start the battle with at least 1 unit embarked within it, or it cannot be deployed for that battle and will instead count as having been destroyed during the first battle round. Which means it does give up points for bring it down.
I was about to say that's. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by taking fixed, bring it down. The thing is, I would love it. Like, does your opponent clock that they take fixed, bring it down, engage them from max, bring it down turn 1, and then just walk into each of the corners of the board and go, I guess I get 100? Oh, goodness me. Well, I mean, hopefully you've learned something, and it's not that you should take 24 dedicated transport.
I hope you enjoyed this dive into how to actually play the game properly. As much as I've enjoyed slamming my head against a brick wall with 80 Centurions for all eternity, I want to actually start to get good enough at the game that I can go back to slamming my head against the wall with 80 Centurions for all eternity, but with a bigger brain behind my skull. Make sure to go follow Toby's YouTube channel, Tactical Rock 40k, if you want some more advice, and hopefully his videos and advice continues to be very useful and I'm not done irreparable damage to his psyche with my inane drivel. So thank you very much for watching once again, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the good YouTube stuff. If you want to support me financially, you can do so through Patreon or memberships or buying my merch. If you didn't enjoy this video, then I'm surprised you're still watching all the way to the end, but you know what, you do you. I would have probably clicked off ages ago, to be honest, and watched something else, but it's your life, you can do what you want. Most people have clicked off by now anyway, because I have a massive drop at the end, because the video is technically over, and I'm just rambling, there's just names on screen. So if you made it even this far, what are you doing? The video's over. Go home.
Awesome. Perfect.